Everything is changing in Philadelphia, and the wide receiver room looks like a completely different world heading into 2026. After a massive shakeup involving key departures and aggressive new acquisitions, the depth chart is packed with uncertainty and high-stakes battles. We are seeing new faces fighting for targets in an offense that suddenly feels like a giant puzzle. Is this revamped unit actually better, or are we heading for a major disappointment when the real games begin? You won't believe who is stealing the spotlight during these early sessions. Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let's break this down right now. The wide receiver room for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2026 is undergoing a massive transformation, shifting away from the established duo that defined the past 4 seasons. Following the decision to trade A.J. Brown, the franchise has actively reshaped the position group through several strategic moves. This overhaul includes acquiring Dontayvion Wicks, signing Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore, and investing a first-round draft pick in Mickey Lemon, a move that involved trading up to secure his services. While Devonta Smith remains the solidified WR1, the overall composition of the unit is currently marked by significant uncertainty. Observations from recent open OTA practices have indicated that the group has not yet generated the same level of impact or cohesion that characterized the team when A.J. Brown and Smith were leading the attack. Additionally, the development process for Mickey Lemon has faced an early setback, as the first-round pick is currently sidelined with a hamstring injury. These factors leave many questions regarding how this unit will perform when the intensity increases and the team finally puts the pads on for full-contact training camp sessions. The departure of A.J. Brown creates a vacuum in terms of production and veteran presence that the front office is attempting to fill with a variety of new pieces. The narrative surrounding this position group is strictly centered on the search for a new identity, as the coaching staff evaluates how these diverse talents integrate into the offensive scheme. With Fly Eagles Fly echoing through the history of this team, the pressure is on for these new players to prove they can uphold that standard of excellence. Fans are watching closely to see if the depth on paper translates to the field in the upcoming season. Amidst the uncertainty following the departure of A.J. Brown, one specific player has emerged as a focal point during the early summer sessions: Hollywood Brown. As the team navigates this transition period, Hollywood Brown has distinguished himself through his pure speed, providing the Eagles with a vertical threat designed to stretch opposing defenses. During recent drills, his ability to execute go balls was put to the test against Tarek Woolen. While Woolen managed to match him physically, the exchange served as a clear reminder of both the difficulty of the assignment and the high caliber of the secondary the Eagles are currently facing. The fact that Hollywood Brown is being challenged at such a high level illustrates why his speed is considered a potential weapon within this offense. However, the performance of Hollywood Brown in June raises an inevitable question. Is this early flash of talent truly indicative of his long-term impact? As the Eagles look to solidify their roster, the role of Hollywood Brown remains in flux, especially considering he is not currently slated as one of the top 3 receivers. With Devonta Smith occupying the primary spot, and both Mickey Lemon and Dontayvion Wicks battling for the second position, the distribution of targets will be a primary concern. Even with the injury to Mickey Lemon, his position in the competition remains secure, keeping him in the mix alongside Wicks. Furthermore, the presence of tight ends like Dallas Goedert and Eli Stowers, the latter of whom excels as a downfield option between the hash marks, adds another layer of complexity. Hollywood Brown effectively finds himself as the 5th or 6th option in the progression, despite his vital role as a deep threat. This makes his quest for a larger role a fascinating development to watch throughout the summer months. Why does this matter right now for the team? The shift in the wide receiver room is not merely about personnel. It is about the structural efficiency of the entire passing attack. With A.J. Brown no longer in the fold, the Eagles are relying on a collective effort to replicate the production that once centered around a dominant force. The current roster depth is being put to the test early, and the lack of standout performances in OTA practices suggests that the team is still searching for its rhythm. Hollywood Brown, despite being lower on the initial depth chart, offers a specific skill set that the team clearly identified as a necessity. By targeting him, the Eagles have sought to regain the ability to challenge defenses downfield, a tactic that proved successful for the Kansas City Chiefs when utilizing Hollywood Brown in a similar limited target role last season. The organization is banking on the idea that they can maximize his strengths by focusing on his ability to run between the hash marks and create yards after the catch. However, the internal hierarchy is well defined, with Devonta Smith earning a significant salary, Makey Lemon carrying the weight of being a first-round selection, and Dontayvion Wicks commanded by a substantial financial commitment for 2027. These players are prioritized for the opportunity to produce, leaving Hollywood Brown to prove his value in a more constrained role. This creates a high-stakes environment where every snap matters. The ultimate success of the offense depends on whether these players can coalesce into a functional unit that compensates for the significant changes made this offseason. As the team prepares for the regular season, the integration of these different talents, including the specialized speed of Hollywood Brown, remains the most pressing technical challenge for the entire coaching staff. The evaluation of Hollywood Brown is further complicated by his health history, as the team must determine if he remains the same explosive receiver he was before suffering a foot injury 4 years ago. It is important to note that Hollywood Brown was not the primary target for the Eagles during the free agency process. They had expressed interest in Darnell Mooney before he ultimately signed with the New York Giants. Consequently, Hollywood Brown represents a calculated, low-risk, high-reward acquisition. The statistical indicators from his previous campaign offer some optimism for the coaching staff. During the last full season, Hollywood Brown recorded an average air yards per target of 11.30, which was his highest mark since 2021. Furthermore, he posted an average of 3.9 yards after the catch per reception, suggesting that his agility remains a factor. If utilized correctly, the Eagles believe there is more untapped potential in his game. The success of this move hinges on whether the team can integrate these statistics into a cohesive game plan. With Devonta Smith, Makey Lemon, and Dontayvion Wicks currently occupying the most prominent roles, Hollywood Brown must capitalize on every target he receives to justify his place in the rotation. The competition behind him is also fierce, with players like Johnny Wilson, Darius Cooper, Elijah Moore, and Britton Covey fighting for the remaining roster spots. While those players offer different skill sets, such as blocking prowess or returnability, Hollywood Brown is generally expected to have his roster spot locked down. The core issue remains: will Hollywood Brown be able to secure enough volume in the regular season to provide the necessary production that the team lacks following the departure of A.J. Brown? The answer to that fundamental question is likely to be revealed during the high-pressure environment of the regular season in September. Looking ahead, the development of the 2026 wide receiver room will be defined by the maturation of the younger players and the efficiency of the veterans brought in to fill the void. While the Eagles would like to continue the development of Darius Cooper, the reality of roster construction means there is a battle for potentially only 1 or 2 remaining spots. Johnny Wilson's blocking ability and Britton Covey's utility as a punt returner ensure that they remain relevant, but the focus remains firmly on the primary targets and the role of Hollywood Brown. The team is in a position where they must rely on the draft capital invested in Makey Lemon and the financial commitments made to Dontayvion Wicks and Devonta Smith to form the backbone of the receiving corps. Hollywood Brown provides a specialized dimension with his speed, yet he remains an auxiliary piece in an offense that has many mouths to feed. The team's strategy, which includes the use of tight ends like Dallas Goedert and Eli Stowers, implies that the ball will be distributed in a variety of ways, potentially limiting the opportunities for any single receiver to emerge as a statistical juggernaut. As training camp approaches, the focus for the organization will be on smoothing out the uncertainties that currently plague the unit. The staff must determine if the current roster construction is sufficient to compete at the highest level, or if further adjustments will be necessary as the season progresses. The journey from the current uncertainty to a polished, functional unit will be the primary narrative for the Eagles this year. The transition has been significant, and the results will be scrutinized in every game. The team continues to move forward, knowing that the only way to validate these roster decisions is through consistent, on-field production. Once the games actually begin to count in the standings,